Hey guys, this is the Auto Enthusiast, and today we're looking at the 2017 Hyundai Sonata SE PZEV. We're going to do an in-depth review, check out the interior, and take it for a test drive. Stay tuned. And before I forget, sorry for not an exterior shot. It snowed last night, so there's a ton of snow around, and it was hard to put a tripod out. So stay tuned. It's going to be like a normal review with our new camera equipment. So yeah, let's go for it.
This Sonata is the start to something new at Hyundai, providing luxury cars for the average buyer. The SE is powered by a GDI inline-4 2.4-liter engine, producing 185 horsepower. Hyundai boasts an eco-mode mileage of 38 miles per gallon on the highway. We found that the average mileage on the car was about 33 miles per gallon. With 16-inch alloy wheels, a rear lip spoiler, and attractive headlights and taillights, this sedan is a beauty on the road. The body of this car mixes sporty, business, and luxury attributes to provide buyers with a happy middle ground. Hyundai took its time designing all the aspects of the exterior to prepare for the separation of the Genesis line. I think that the Sonata will take its place in generations to come. Personally, I feel that the 2017 Sonata will meet most car drivers' exterior needs. This sedan leads the pack of other 2017 sedans on the modern look.
The steering wheel is pretty nice in the Sonata. It's nice as low-end sedans go. There is no leather wrap. It's just one type of material. It's a little smaller than you would usually expect. I was kind of surprised getting into this Sonata. It seemed smaller than the previous years. It has pretty good buttons. They're pretty easy to use. They're simple. It's just a volume and mode control. And this side, it's the same. You've got cruise control. You also have your screen control here that is used for this. The display and gauges are pretty good. The gauges look a lot like older Volkswagen gauges. They're not the standard Hyundai gauges that have been around in the past 40 years from 2010 to 2015. If I use these buttons right here, I'm able to change what's happening on my screen. So I'm going to press this, and I'm able to change what I'm looking at. And then I can use up and down and change the trip and all that. And it's a pretty good screen. It's easy to use. I was really surprised. It's nice. As for the experience of the driver, we've got our the lighting settings here for the dash. Those are pretty good. There's these odd buttons here that don't really do anything, and they're kind of frustrating. Gas is here, the trunk is there, and traction control is there. Side view mirror controls are here, and it's flat. It's not on the wall. It's overall a pretty good setup. As for the center console, it's really nice. We've got our CD up here. We've got a very large screen. It is touch screen. It's pretty easy to use. There's a little bit of lag on the touch. Climate control is pretty good. It looks good. It's overall a very classy dash, and I'm really happy with it. If you go down here, we've got our classic Hyundai opening. It opens to a larger space, and your auxiliary and USB. I really like those on Hyundais. They're very versatile. You can keep it closed. You can use your phone. You can have your phone in there. It's a pretty good space. The shifter knob on this car is nice. It has a nice black leather bolstering. It's got a very nice shifter knob. It's very easy to use. We do have this spot next to it that you could put maybe a phone. It's not that big of a space. We have another spot like that here. They're not very big, and they're kind of, you kind of ask, why are they there? Like, you can put a phone there, but why do we need two of them? As you can see on the dash, we're in eco mode. I can go right over here to drive mode. I'm going to press this button, and I'll let you see. You can go to sport, and then normal. I'm leaving it eco just because I like better gas mileage. Space in this car is pretty good. We've got a good, decent-sized cup holder there. And here's our glove compartment. It is pretty large. It's like most other cheap sedans. And it closes easily and opens easily too, and you can lock it. As for the armrest, it's a pretty good armrest. It's very comfortable. It has a nice leather wrap. It just opens. It's one compartment. It does have this little sliding tray here, but that opens up to a much larger compartment. And my hand goes all the way in, and it's a pretty big thing. I'm not a big fan of these little cups right here. They seem to get in the way. They don't slide very well. But overall, it's got a pretty good space. All right, and this is what the dash looks like when we turn on the car. It's pleasantly surprising. And when we turn off the car, it gives us a summary of our trip. And it's not giving me a summary now, but usually, because I didn't drive very far, it will give me a summary of that trip. The key fob on this car, it's pretty nice. It's a newer Hyundai key fob. They based it off of the ones that they came out with the Genesis in 2010. It still is a turnkey. I'm not a big fan of that, but it is the base model, or close to the base model. Has trunk open, car open. It's a pretty nice key. It fits well in the pocket, but I'm not a fan of that. The seats in this car are really nice. They've got a really nice bolstering. I like this two-tone pattern. Not sure it's why it's really there, but regardless, it's really nice. The seats in this car, they did a really nice job. I like the tones and colors of the interior. Overall, I give it a pretty good rating. Here we go for the back seats. The back seats are very large in this car, and they're very comfortable. They have, again, this two-tone. It's not really two-tone. It's two different fabric types, and it's a different pattern. But they're nice. This armrest comes out. It's rather large. Cup holders, pretty standard. Goes back up. But overall, it's a really nice interior. It's very large. There's a lot of room for your feet, and you've got really nice carpeting. And here we go for the trunk. The trunk opening is very large. I apologize for the snow. As you can see, I got some of the snow in the trunk. Usually they do come actually with these cargo nets. They're quite nice. The opening is very large. It would be really easy to get a suitcase in. It's a very long and wide trunk. The seats go down. You've got the floor mats in there. But it's a very deep trunk. And I have to say, I'm very impressed with this. It's very similar to the A6 size. For the overall interior, it's pretty nice. I really feel like I'm in, like, you know, a luxury sedan. It is like an inexpensive Sonata. So it's a good feeling to be in. I really like the two-tone leather. It's a good feel. The car fits me. I'm a little bit on the bigger side, so the seats are nice. If you're smaller, they might be a little bit loose. Overall, other than that, it's a pretty nice car. We're going to take it for a test drive and see how it is. And let's go for it. Okay, we're going to start the test drive off by utilizing the backup camera. I'm backing out of the little parking lot that I was doing a review in. And right off the bat, the backup camera is great. One thing that I really like about Hyundais and their backup cameras is for most cars, you have to learn how to use them. The backup cameras on most Hyundais are really easy to use, straightforward, and you can actually trust them. And I think that's pretty rare in cars, even with the higher end cars. Also, another thing that I noticed right off the bat is the shift knob. It's really easy to use, it's really fluid, and it's just overall, it's almost sporty, especially for an automatic. All right, we're gonna give it a little bit of gas, and here we go. So yeah, it has some pickup. It's definitely not a sports sedan. Usually I look for the sport trims of cars, but for this review, you know, we're really looking at the average person's Sonata. This car is listed for $23,000, so it's a pretty inexpensive buy, especially for what you're getting in the interior with the center console and dash. And yes, it has some pickup. I'm not going to tell you it's great. It's a little sporty. It could definitely be fun. I am in eco mode, so that very much just hindered all of the power that I'm getting from the engine. But you know, that's what you really want to look at, is, you know, because that's what you're going to be driving it in. You're going to be driving it in eco mode, so that's what you want to know about the car. The gauges are nice. They're really responsive. When I did give it a little bit of gas, it did shift to about 4,000 RPM. I'm assuming when I put it in sport mode, it's just going to increase the RPM shift rate. We can try that now. And we're in sports mode. And yeah, that's basically it. It changed the RPM where it's shifting, RPM wise. Didn't feel like a lot more power. Still, not a bad car. As for braking, that's a big thing with cars. Braking is very, very, very smooth, and you know, you see that with a lot of Hyundais. But I think this year especially, giving it a little break there. The brakes are really, really, really fine-tuned. They're easy to use. They're kind of very universal. They match a lot of the Genesis and Genesis Coupe attributes of their brakes, but they also have the same feel as a smaller car. The road feel in this car is really good. The best way I can describe it is we did a review on a 2012 A6 earlier, and the feel of the road is exactly the same. It's got a really nice suspension in this car. I'm feeling just enough of the road to know what's happening, and I'm not feeling too much to be uncomfortable. It has the overall vibe of, a very sports-tuned luxury sedan, and that's really what I feel like. And it's amazing that I'm driving a $23,000 sedan, and I feel the way that I do in this car. Could I see myself driving this car on long trips? Yes, I could, because yesterday we drove it like an hour, which isn't a long trip. But after an hour, in most cars, I either love it or hate it. And with this car, I definitely didn't hate it. I didn't love it because it's not a sports car or anything near that, but it was comfortable. I didn't get uncomfortable, which is rare in seats. And I really liked the features. We got to try out all the features, the sound. All were good, very satisfactory. Overall, I mean, it was really a good experience. I definitely could take this car on a road trip. As for handling, one thing that I've noticed is the weight on the wheel is really light. And what I mean by that is it's very easy to turn the wheel. And that can be a good thing and a bad thing. I'm actually a big fan of pre-power steering cars. I just like to control the car and have some resistance so I can't accidentally do anything. With this car, if you accidentally touched the wheel and moved it in the wrong way, God forbid, if you accidentally turned the wheel and you didn't want to, the car is going to turn. There's very little resistance on the wheel. That being said, if you're a very attentive driver and you're focused on what you're doing, this wheel can be a lot of fun because it's easy to drive, it's easy to manipulate, and it's also small, so it turns really quickly and well. And, I'm not a huge fan of that, but for people that have been driving these Sonatas, I've got to say it's a little bit of an upgrade. So one thing that we're lucky with today is we've got all-season tires on, and there's a little bit of snow on the ground. So we can talk about the snow. And it is a front-wheel drive car, and I've got to say, it does pretty well. We do have all-seasons on. They're not snow tires, which personally I would recommend. I always recommend, if anyone asks me, get snow tires. You want to be safe on the road. However, I feel pretty safe, and especially after driving my Genesis Coupe for so long, it really feels like I can actually maneuver in the snow. One problem that I'm finding with this car is that it fogs up really easily. So if you're in a colder environment and you're starting the car or anything, there's a lot of interior fog and you really got to run the defrosters. And that's kind of frustrating. It took me a little while to get into this car and start it. I feel like there's a lot of problems with Hyundais on starting their cars, getting them going, and I'm probably pretty sour because with my Genesis Coupe, it takes me about 18 minutes to get the turbo warmed up, which is crazy. But my girlfriend also has a 2014 Hyundai Elantra Coupe, and that as well has the fogging issue, and that's something that we're trying to correct, but it seems to be across the board with Hyundais. So for my lasting impressions on this car, no, it is not a sports sedan. However, with both the suspension and steering and how you sit in the car and your visibility, which is pretty good, I've got to say, the visibility is pretty good, you kind of have this air to a sports sedan. And why I don't want to call it a sports sedan is because it simply doesn't pack that under the engine. You would look for a 2.0T or the turbo version, and that still, you're looking at very low numbers in power. However, I do feel like I'm sitting in a luxury sedan, and I rarely can say, especially to a lot of my viewers and from the cars that I review and have reviewed so far, that I am comfortable and would want to buy a $23,000 sedan. Now, I say that not to say that I have a lot of money, because I have almost none. I'm in college. But, I would be comfortable comparing this to, a 2012 Audi A6. The interior gives me the same feel, even without some of the nicer features like full leather seats or a leather wrapped steering wheel. I still feel like I have that. I'm not sure if that's with the color schemes or why that's happening, but when I sit in this car, it feels super classy and I'm very comfortable, and yeah, that's it. So to talk for a few minutes about its competitors, I have recently driven the Mazda 6, the Sonata, what I'm in, other versions of the Sonata, and, you know, smaller Hyundai coupes, and kind of, I've driven a lot of mid-class sedans, and recently, very, very recently, and I have to say, this car definitely, you know, is up there on my choice. If I could get a little bit more of a sporty drive, this would be my choice. However, interior-wise, this Sonata wins, especially for the price. Comparatively to other cars, especially cars that it's competing against, mainly the Mazda 6. I'm not really going to list any American cars just because they're a different type of car. The American cars value different things. These cars are very much striving to achieve very German attributes in their luxury sedans. So again, this sedan, the interior, the drive feel, maybe not the sportiness, outperforms the Mazda 6 and that class of cars. However, you know, if driving is really important to you and you really want to get the most out of the car, I would suggest either modifying, tuning this car, doing something to it to get the power out of, because the rest of the car really seems worth it, or exploring the 2.0 turbo. Overall, I'm really happy with the Hyundai Sonata, and especially with what the 2017 released. As always, guys, if you liked the video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out, helps me be able to get more cars to show to you guys. And again, yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great day.